Hello, I'm Breton, one of our MCAT tutors here at Inspira Advantage, where we help students get accepted into med school and other professional programs. Today, we will take a break from hard sciences and dive into the highest yield topics in the Psych-Soc section. Specifically, we will discuss what you need to know about conflict theory for the MCAT. Conflict theory is a structural theory on how society works, which comes out of the works of Karl Marx. As you may guess by this, there are many similarities and overlaps between conflict theory and communism. Conflict theory focuses on how differences in power between groups are created and contribute to maintaining social order, often in a negative manner. It explains how groups compete over resources to attain power over others. Just like in functionalism, conflict theory is used to analyze society at large. It can be used to look at phenomena such as war, revolution, poverty, discrimination, and domestic violence. Importantly, proponents of conflict theory believe that social conflict is the force that drives change and the development of society. To understand conflict theory, you will need 4 essential vocab words for the MCAT. I recommend adding these to your Anki deck or similar flashcard program. The first vocab word we need is bourgeoisie. The bourgeoisie is a group who has the majority of wealth and means in society. Contrasting the bourgeoisie are the proletariat. Proletariat are the working class poor, often have little power. Those are our actor vocab words. Now we need to actually use some of those conflict vocab words. The first one we need to know is, what is a thesis? And no, this isn't an English thesis. In this case, thesis means the status quo. The opposite of a thesis is the antithesis or antithesis, which is the desire to change the status quo. The central tenet of conflict theory is that the bourgeoisie, a minority in the population, use their wealth and power to oppress the proletariat. The bourgeoisie wants the thesis to stay the same, whereas the proletariat, once they develop class consciousness, are more in favor of the antithesis. The thesis and antithesis cannot exist peacefully, so conflict happens, and one or a combination of the thesis and antithesis wins out. Let's look at this diagrammatically. Let's use the conflict theory lens to analyze some examples. First, let's take a look at financial access to the MCAT. The MCAT can be an expensive test, not only to study for, but even just to take. A conflict theory would say that the bourgeoisie doctors have more power than the proletariat. So let's do a little doctor with this is a stethoscope. So we're going to call this the bourgeoisie. Let's call him Dr. Bourgeoisie. Versus the proletariat person studying for the MCAT. The proletariat just wants to take the MCAT to get into medical school. A conflict theorist would say that the bourgeoisie doctors have more power than the proletariat, who want to take the MCAT to get into medical school. This could result in the bourgeoisie having the funds to best prepare their own children for entrance into medical school, or to use their societal influence to increase their children's or friends' acceptance into medical school. This would be the thesis, or the status quo. So I'm going to draw little doctor kids here. Now, say that the massive proletariat undergraduates from less than well-to-do backgrounds find this unfair and want an equal distribution of wealth and opportunity. This idea would be the antithesis or antithesis. According to conflict theory, the two groups would have some sort of conflict. And a synthesis of a new thesis would be created. Perhaps this new thesis would scale how much it costs to take the MCAT depending on SES. My personal advice for answering conflict theory type questions on the MCAT is to ask yourself, which one of these answers sounds the most communist? And pick it. Now, I know this sounds silly, but it really does work. Now, you should have a solid idea of how conflict theory works. If you haven't already, I recommend you check out our companion video on functionalist theory. Both of these videos are incredibly high yield for the sociology portion of the MCAT on the Psych Soc section. Thank you so much for watching our video on conflict theory, and I'll see you next time.